Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Assalamu Alaikum. Good evening to you all. So my role today is to talk about the gift of life. And truly, this has been demonstrated throughout the ages. Even in the Bible, in the book of Proverbs, is this famous quote, "A sound heart is the life of the flesh." And to save the hearts of little children, there is a new force in India, the Sri Sathya Sai Sanjeevani hospitals, with their leading motto of Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu, may all beings in all the worlds be happy. So if you think about how many of you grew up in India, many, if not all, but that is the India of yesterday. This is the India of today, where it is fast becoming a very consumptive, where there are many haves and there are many have-nots, a country of contrasts. But these children are still very fortunate. They have clothing, they have shelter, they may have parents who care for them. There are others who have to make do with little tins that are left on the roadside for their temporary shelters. And there are those babies being born even without that. They face great hardship, hunger, distress, difficulty at every stage of life. And so these are the children that we see on the streets. But let's talk about the children we don't see, the invisible child. These are the children who have been born in poverty, but in addition to that, they are carrying the burden of heart disease. The burden that comes from being born in families which cannot afford the medical care required. And this has been recognized the world over. In fact, from the Lancet, a leading medical publication, there was this commentary on the state of such children across the world. And when you talk about India, the epidemiology is such that India is the world capital for congenital heart disease. The other CHD, not Center for Human Development, but the congenital heart disease, which is the scourge of Indian children today. More than 300,000 are being born every year. More than 7.5 million children are suffering from this. How can you deal with these? Open heart surgery costs about $5,000 in India. In the US, at Stanford, it costs about $100,000 to $150,000. One surgery. 22% people in India live below the poverty line. $10 per month per family. How can they afford any kind of medical care for their children? These families live in the darkness of despair and depression and difficulties every day. But now there is a ray of hope, as you have heard, in the Sri Sathya Sai Sanjeevani Hospital in Naya Raipur, Chhattisgarh, where all the care is provided completely free of cost to these children. But not only that, this is advanced medical, surgical, preventive, curative, rehabilitative care. But not only is this free of cost completely to the families, but all the families get rent-free accommodation and free food while their child is being cared for in the hospital. No child who comes to their gates is ever turned away. This is not only a symbol of care and compassion and competence, but also a symbol of quality and efficiency. They did 11 open heart surgeries in one day last year. This is a tiny hospital in the middle of nowhere with just 3 departments, a total of 6 doctors in the entire hospital. 2 for pediatric cardiac surgery, 2 for cardiac anesthesia, and 2 for cardiology. And in this hospital, they are doing amazing work where they have performed 1,100 operations in 2016. See the rate at which this program is growing. This year, they will break the barrier of 1,200 surgeries in 2017. 100 open heart surgeries a month This is bigger than Boston Children's Hospital, bigger than Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, bigger than almost any other program in the world. As of 2 days ago, 3,716 heart surgeries have been done, completely free of cost. Their mortality, 2.5% in 2015, 1.3% in 2016, below 1% in 2017. Can you think of any program that offers that? The cost of one heart surgery, $1,200. It is amazing how they accomplish that. I have seen with my own eyes. We have these, for a child who has a hole in their heart, we have a Gore-Tex patch. Each Gore-Tex patch costs about $8,000. We use one Gore-Tex patch for each child at Stanford. But over there in this hospital, 8 to 10 children will get their holes in their heart closed with one Gore-Tex patch. How did they do that? They have these volunteers who sweep the operating rooms every 30 minutes. You could eat your food off of that floor, literally. There's such dedication, such compassion and competence in these people at the Sanjeevani Hospital. So that is why you see love at work. You see their waiting room in the outpatient department filled with parents. The moment they open their doors, my wife and I visited last year, we saw before 8 o'clock in the morning, we saw 50, 60 people lined up outside the gate. We followed this child from the outpatient department to the registration. Immediately, one of the junior doctors came there, Dr. Gagandeep Bhatia, and he took their history, did a physical, and he called Dr. Vijay Sathe, who's the chief of cardiology. He came down, he did an echocardiogram, he diagnosed the problem right there. No cath lab, no even a blood bank is present in that hospital. This child goes, gets admitted to the hospital, and then very next day, because it's an emergency, Dr. Ashish Kateva, who's the chief cardiac surgery, we witnessed this surgeon doing the surgery in the operating room. Many hours of tense surgery, complex heart condition, and soon after a few hours, the surgery is done, the child comes to the ICU, and immediately the mother takes this child in her lap. This is their program of Matruchaya, in the shadow of the mother. They provide the postoperative care with love and compassion. And here's the child, a few days later, leaving the ICU. And even the junior doctors who gets a few hundred rupees a month for their salary, saved enough during his year over there to present this hospital with an EKG machine before he left after his house job. Talk about recognition in India. This is Dr. Ashish Kateva, who's getting the award for the best specialty hospital in India today. This was in 2016 at the MedCon conference, and it was reported in numerous newspapers all over the country. Even Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji came there to congratulate and facilitate the people who run this hospital and work, who have dedicated their lives. But what about international recognition? When we went there, my wife and I talked to Dr. Kateva and Dr. Sathe, and we said, you are doing such amazing work. You have to report it. Your peers need to hear about it. Other cardiac surgeons need to hear about it. A few months later, there was an opportunity. The World Congress of Pediatric Cardiology and Cardiac Surgery happened in Barcelona just a few weeks ago. With Dr. Kateva, we sent 4 papers for submission. This Congress has an acceptance rate of less than 20%. All 4 of his papers got accepted. He presented one-of-a-kind congenital heart disease, which has never ever been seen before, never ever been cured or surgically operated before. This was a duplication of the aortic root, never been seen. Other very complex cases. This was the child with the aneurysm coming out after she had fallen down from a tree. She had trauma to her chest. And this child came, and this was a 7-hour-long surgery, and he was able to save this child's life by operating on her. And he reported this case at Barcelona. Other complicated cases, and here's Dr. Kateva presenting his posters to the World Congress. And he was one of the few invited to a plenary platform session to recognize the humanitarian care that is being given to these families completely free of cost. How could this happen? Where do these resources come from? How do these people do that? It is people like you and me who have made this possible. There are so many in this hall who have contributed towards the care that is being provided. The Sri Satya Sai Sanjeevani International Center for Child Health, Heart Care and Research was constructed in a record time of 4 months because the need is so great. This is the hospital which opens its arms. It screams out to anybody who passes by, love all, serve all. Not only in the daytime, but this sign shines bright even at night. And for those who drive on National Highway 8, they will see this beacon of this hospital where it is serving, calling out to parents and families whose children are sick. You heard about this pediatric cardiac cath lab. This is where interventional cardiac operations or procedures can be done. Imagine fixing a hole in the heart without having to cut open the chest. This is what is being accomplished in this cath lab. Dr. Munesh Tomar, she's the chief of cardiology at the International Center, and she did one of the first cases, a very complex case, which took immense expertise to do this. And here is this child. His name, can you imagine what his name is? His name is Unnati, progress. Truly, in 70 years, India has made progress where this child could get free care and leave the hospital with a smile on his face and no scar on his chest. It is amazing. And this is Dr. Rashmi Murthy. She's the chief cardiac surgeon. This was the first child, a tiny baby, operated on at the International Center. Other children have followed. This child came with severe problems because of congestive heart failure from her congenital heart disease. She was barely even conscious before surgery, and here she is after surgery, sitting up in bed, and the father is amazed to see how this child's brain, his body is functioning. Another child, complex heart surgery. This is in the ICU just a few hours after the operation, and the very same evening was able to eat food himself for the first time. So my friend, not only are these hospitals truly living up to the name of Sanjeevani, and this, by the way, on this picture is of the Sanjeevani plant. This is the plant that Hanuman carried to save the life of Lakshmana. It has been found after a 4-year search in December 2016. And this Sanjeevani plant is growing and growing and growing to bring healing to hearts that are damaged or affected by congenital heart disease. How is Sanjeevani growing? At the hospital in Naya Raipur, we're expanding from 2 operation theaters to 4 operation theaters. Just imagine, 2 operation theaters, 1,200 operations in 2017. How many can we do with 4 in 2018? You have to decide that. We need to set up and launch an interventional cardiac cath lab. Not only would this allow non-invasive procedures to be done, but also the hybrid operations, where the most critical part you can do in the cath lab, and then you can do the plumbing of the heart in the operating room. Those are things that are now possible in the hospital in Palwal district at the International Center, but not in Naya Raipur. We want to increase the ICU capacity, doubling the number of beds. We want to expand the Divine Child Health Program. And as of a few days ago, literally a few days hot off the press, Sanjeevani Hospital has opened its first satellite center in Sambalpur in Odisha. And this will be able to start screening children and sending them to the hospital in Chhattisgarh, in Naya Raipur. At the International Center, we need to expand the inpatient and outpatient programs. Over there, only one operating room is functional right now. We need to go from 2 to 4 to 6. It has the capacity to do that. To expand from 40 beds to 100 beds to 200 beds. That is the capacity available at the International Center. To develop an infrastructure to be able to do the research that prevents congenital heart disease from happening. And that's what Stanford and the Sanjeevani hospitals are getting into a collaboration to help. And not only will that happen, Sanjeevani is growing to another part of the country, to Navi Mumbai, where a new hospital, a new facility will be launched as of November 25th this year. So let us remember on this Independence Day the people who fought for the freedom of India. 3 days ago, Prime Minister Modi invited freedom fighters to the PM residence to honor and meet with them. And with that, with their sacrifices, we should all wish you, and I wish you, a very happy Independence Day. Jai Hind!
Thank you, Dr. Kanwaljeet Anand and Mr. Arvind Tyagarajan, for sharing Sai Global Mission's wonderful initiatives. Please do visit our booths for more information for our local and global initiatives. If you would like to be involved in these initiatives, we have action cards that are available on the tables and in the booths.